So today I'm going to take apart the GPD WIN this is a 2025 model with the HX370 processor. I couldn't find any other videos on it, so luckily the tools are pretty simple. You just need a long shaft, I think this is size 0 screwdriver, Phillips, and a couple of different tweezers. I got just a iFixit kit for that. Then you just need a couple of prying tools to open up the case. Some isopropyl alcohol. I got 99% is all I could find. 99.9 is the best though. And then I'm also going to be replacing the joysticks in these because my joysticks broke. Alright, let's get started. So on the bottom there's this plastic strip you have to remove. There's 2 screws underneath here. I've already removed mine, so it's just stuck on here, just placed back on here. There's glue though, and so you want to be careful when you remove it so you don't snap the piece. And I have glue that I bought to replace this, but otherwise your best bet is to take and heat that up with like either a heat gun at low heat or a hairdryer or something like that, so you don't damage anything but you can get the adhesive loosened up. So there's going to be 8 screws that you have to remove in order to open this up. Let's see. So you got 2 right here, and then the rest are on the back. Luckily, all of these screws, for the most part, are the same size. I think there's 2 sizes, so there's not too much mix-up that can happen. Actually, since I'm taking both joysticks out, I'm going to take them off here before. That way I can easily slip them out. You can just put pressure on them here, and there's little tabs that come off. Alright, so those are off. Alright, now these ones usually don't come out, though I have had one fall out, and I still have yet to find it when I first took this apart. So your screw holes are here, here, and here, and the same on the other side. Alright, now let's get this open. I found the easiest way is right here, where the lanyard hole is. There we go. And just be careful so you don't pop any of the pins that are in there that hold this. Or snap, I guess is a better term. once you have this open, don't pull it real hard because there's two wires that are connected to the back. Okay. So one of these is on, let's see, what would be the left side. That's going to be for your back buttons. And the other is actually glued on here, and that is for your Wi-Fi antenna, which is right here. Let's see if I can move this a little closer and make it a little more clear. Okay, so if we take this plastic cover off here, make it easier to get to these antennas. It's just stuck on here with a little glue. Okay. And then with those antennas, you can just pop them off pretty easy. You just gotta be careful so again you don't break anything because they are loose. Or not loose, but they're fragile. Okay, that's one. And you don't technically have to pop these off, but it does make it easier for the rest of this. Then you unroute this wire here. Okay, now the back's completely separate. There. And I'll just set that to the side. So we won't need that for a while. Okay. So I'll go ahead and remove this because I won't need this cable. Alright. Now at this point, let's go ahead and take off this fan and get below it. Now the fan does have unique screws compared to the rest, so that one is different. So I'll put those in a separate spot here. Okay, we're going to unplug the fan cable right here. That's just the power to the fan. Alright, and then with this fan, it's got this tape that's just help keep the air flowing in the right direction. So we can just peel that up here. That way we can reuse it later. Okay, we take the fan. There we go. Fan off. I'll put that up here. That's magnetic. I'll put it over here. Okay, so now we're going to take apart the heatsink, and this comes in two different pieces. It has a screw here, here, and here. And then this one is, I believe, a longer screw than the other two, so it'll be a little bit easier to tell what it is. Actually, you know what? Now looking at it, those are all the same size. It's the other three that are on the part that actually goes connected to the APU, or I think they're calling them NPUs now, because those ones are shorter. But since this one has to go through both layers of heat sinks, they are longer. Okay, now we can just peel this up. There we go. And it's got some thermal pads there for some of the chips that it sits on. Okay, let's also remove the SSD here. So if you're doing an SSD replacement, you wouldn't have to take off that last heatsink. There we go. Okay, set that to the side. Finish taking out this heatsink, and I might have to replace the thermal paste. Hopefully not, because I just replaced it. take the rest of this heat sink off. Yeah. Here we go. Okay, yeah, I'll probably replace that just to be on the safe side. So might as well clean that up. That's what the alcohol is for. So I'm just going to use a Q-tip dipped in some alcohol. Let's see, let's move this out of the way. Okay. Now that PTM is interesting stuff. Probably doesn't even need to be replaced. It's just my first time working with PTM, so not familiar with what it looks like after it's gone through a couple heat cycles. Okay. Okay, I'd say that's decently clean. Now, before I play with the actual CPU here, I'm going to take and unplug the power. So it's under that first heatsink piece, and right here is the cable for the battery. There. And then this battery is just held in by adhesive, so you just pull that right out. It is a little stuck. It's a little bit of a pain, but if you've taken it off a few times, like I have, it's not as bad, usually. There we go. Alright, battery off. Set that to the side. Alright, now that the battery's gone, I'll go ahead and clean off the rest of this thermal paste. This probably isn't the best cleaning job ever, but it'll work. Okay, we'll come back to that later, but it's clean enough for right now. Okay, now we're going to replace the left joystick, which is down under here. So we're going to have to take this tape off. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. Okay, I didn't realize that, but I need to take off that trigger first. So the trigger has a screw here and a screw on the other side of it there. You probably won't be able to see that from the angle though. It's right there. I apologize for any blurriness. This is the first recording I've made, so. Okay. See if I can get that up now. It's got a little pin in there. It's got a little pin in there that keeps that fastened down. Let's take that tape off the rest of the way. Okay. Tape is off. Set that to the side. Here we go. Okay. So now you can see the left joystick here. Let's see. So I'm going to have to take this board off. This has the SD card in it, which I actually still have my SD card in. Let's move that out of the way. Okay. Now these ones are very short. Oh, there we go. Okay. These ones are very short screws, so they are definitely different than the others. Or at least that one is. Let's see if this one is as well. Yep, it's also a very tiny screw. Okay. Let's lift this board up. There we go. I was hoping I could do it without taking that ribbon cable off, because I just need to be able to get down to there. use a fine point just to lift that up. There we go. Try and get a little closer here. Make it a little easier to see. It's hard because it's very small. Alright, so we're going to take these two screws off. I did not see where that went. Okay. Alright, so that is a long screw. Looks like it's its own size, basically. Alright, and then with that, it's just that simple ribbon cable. Alright, and that's the old joystick removed. Okay, yeah, those are both their own unique sizes. Okay, so here is the old assembly. We're going to need to take this metal piece off, because we have to attach that to the new joysticks. And yet another size of screw. Before doing the joysticks, there was not as many sizes I saw. I'm going to take this dust cap off. There we go. We'll set that to the side. Okay. There. Now we can take the old joystick. This is an Alps joystick. Off. And then these are some Hall Effect ones that I got from ONEXPLAYER, actually. Alright, so we just attach that in the same way, making sure that the ribbon cable comes off of the correct side. We'll screw that back on here. Okay, that's reassembled. Let's see, I heard you had to use the ones that came with it. I don't know if that's true, but I could see it. These are the ones that came with the new sticks, and they are quite a bit bigger. So I am going to just use what I already got, the ones from GPD. So we'll want to put that back on. Luckily, they can only go on one way, so there's no mistaking it. Alright, cool. Alright, let's put that back in. Alright, and then the ribbon cable has to go back in this little slot up here, which can be kind of a pain to get it in. You can use tweezers, but be very careful, because if you slip, it can scratch up all kinds of stuff, which which I would know because I did. I did that previously. Okay, I think that's in all the way. Might not be. Okay, got that reattached. Let's get the stick back where it belongs. Let's see, am I getting caught up on something? Just myself. There we go. Okay, there are a couple little plastic pins above and below the screws, so that's what was tripping me up. What I'm going to do is now that there's pressure on it, I'm going to lift up this lock on the ribbon cable to make sure that with that extra pressure it can't go in farther, and it does not look like it can, so I think we're good there. So lock that back down. Okay, left joystick is replaced. Let's take a look, make sure all the other cables are good. Yep, including that one. So we'll put this back in place. We'll put the SD card reader back in place now. There. And technically, this should really be done with anti-static wrist strap. But while I have not worked on electronics like this as much, I've been working on computers since I was a kid. So I'm not too worried about that. It's one of those do it at your own risk. Drop the screw in. Okay. Now, with the triggers, you got to make sure that you get the spring over the little peg and in the hole. You have to get both. There we go. Glad it worked the time I decided to do it on camera. Because last time kind of sucked. I'm gonna put the thumbstick back on now. Or thumbstick. Trigger. The one that is neither of what I said. I'm missing a screw there. Okay. See, now we'll try and put that tape back on. Remembering I had to have the trigger off in order to remove the tape. So that stands to reason I'd have to have it off in order to put on the tape. Okay, it doesn't look quite as good, but it's close enough. Alright, that's it for the left joystick. Now for the fun part, we get to do the right one. The left was actually not as bad as I thought it would be. So, let's do this. Alright, so the screws on this one, you have one here. Let me raise that up. Okay. So you have one here, another one under here, one here, and one here. So it should be 5 if I counted right. And then we do have to take the thumbstick off, or the trigger off. And we also have to take these 2 ribbon cables off. Remember I said you can scratch things up with your tweezers? That's what I did right there. Alright, so let's go ahead and take these off, because you do have to take these ribbon cables off. Oh, I hope I pried from the right side, huh? There we go. Okay. And this is the screen ribbon cable. You're supposed to take that off. I wasn't able to get it last time, and I don't want to try and do it to the point where I accidentally break it. So I will be leaving it on during this. You just have to take this cable off as well. Not 100% what it went to. Again, sorry for the visuals. This is definitely not my day job. So I'm also not the most equipped to record. Alright, now the joystick. I keep saying joystick. The triggers. Let's see. There's also a ribbon cable down here that you have to take off. I believe that's for the optical mouse. And then this one up here is for the power button. And this one is for the main. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's for the other board. There we go. Okay. Now we should be able to take this board off, excluding the display. So I'll be lifting it up and just rotating it because I don't want to mess up the display ribbon cable. Okay. Alright, now here's our right joystick. We're going to be disconnecting this ribbon cable that sits over it. I'll just cheat and do it this way. It's not the safest, but there we go. We'll need to take the ribbon cable for the control itself off. But we don't need to lift that board. We just need to lift this one down here. And this one is for the Xbox control button. Okay, so this part, yeah, you have to lift. Yeah, we have to get rid of this ribbon cable. This one is for the optical mouse. There we go. Okay, so unscrew this. Okay. Oh, and there's another screw down here. Forget about that. Okay. Now I think I can lift that board up at this point. Yeah. Okay. It's got another ribbon cable, but we don't need to remove it because we just need to be able to go to that screw. And as you can see, that's the optical mouse right there. Okay, let's take these 3 screws off. Okay, that one is much longer than the other, so I'm going to put it on its own. Okay. Now we should be able to lift the joystick attachment. Yep. Alright, and then same as the last time, I'm going to take the dust cover off to use it on the new one. And then got to remove these 2 tiny screws to take this plate off of the actual joystick. You can see how tiny those screws are there. Okay. And that was the joystick that actually broke. And like with the other, it has a arrow to show you which way the ribbon cable has to be. Okay, that's back in. Let's put that dust cover on. Okay. Now we'll put these back in. Gotta get that ribbon cable in there, which is kind of a pain. That's the optical mouse. We'll set that to the side. Okay. Got the ribbon cable in. Let's get the joystick in place. Okay. Alright, and like with everything else, if it ever feels like the screw is not going in right, reverse it, don't just push through it. You might be cross-threading it, and once it's done, there's not really a good way back. Okay, now the fun part. Have to get the optical mouse just in the right spot. Which actually, I guess I could just put it on and then plug it in after. So we'll just try it that way. Just put it right in its spot there. Use pliers to get it, tweezers, get it out of the way. Put the board back on over it. Okay, and yep, it's in the right spot on the other side. And I'll secure that down. Okay, yeah, you want to make sure your Xbox menu button still works afterward. Okay, now we gotta get this ribbon cable for the mouse in here, which is not easy. That's why I did it last time the other way. Okay, I think that's in there. So lock that down. See joysticks in. Okay. Definitely check yourself as you go to make sure you got everything in place. Okay. I need to get the Xbox button plugged in up here. Good. Okay, there we go. That is in. Okay. So I gotta get the spring for the trigger. It's technically for the bumper. Back on the rail here. Okay. Nope, that has to go over the main board. Okay. Everything looks like it's in place, so main board goes in next. And remember, you have ribbon cables coming out from underneath that you have to be able to plug in. So make sure that they are not trapped under the board before you start to screw it down. Okay. Alright, now I'll go ahead and put the board back on. Okay, those are back in. Now for the ribbon cables. this cable back in as well. Okay. Now when I scratched this one up last time, it's because I had a really bad pair of tweezers. I just replaced them. So hopefully, with any luck, we will not have a repeat of that incident. But this one can be kind of a pain to get in. Mostly because of the angle. There we go. That's in. Okay. Gotta get the bumper spring on again. Maybe easier to go this way with it. Okay. And one of the screws stayed in, so I can just tighten that one down. Ah, I did have a screw. I knew I lost a screw somewhere. Glad I checked that. Don't know where I lost that one at. But inevitably, it would not have been good. Okay, looks like everything there is reattached. We can go ahead and plug the Wi-Fi back in here, because we're done with below that. Actually, I'll leave that for right now, because it's covering these those three pins right there, and those are what we're going to need for the screen fix that we're going to run here. Okay. Might as well do the SSD next. Okay, I'm going to pause and go get more thermal paste. Alright, I am back. I did clean up a little bit more on the thermal paste there, just off camera, because that's boring. Alright, so I have PTM, what is it, 7950, I think is what it's called. It's made by Honeywell. It's an industrial thermal paste, basically. But it comes in a solid sheet, which is much easier to apply. You want to keep it in the fridge or maybe even in the freezer. Helps keep it more solid, makes it easier to apply. And then it has two plastic little sheets that cover both sides. So you just need to get up under there. There we go. Alright, and yeah, a little goes a long way with the stuff. Technically that's true of all thermal paste, but... Alright, now that that is covered, looks like everything's good on that. Alright, so we can put back on the lower heatsink here. This is the one that directly contacts the CPU. You want to be careful to try and line it up properly, so that way you're not messing with that thermal paste more than just the once. Okay, and your short screws will go in the top left, bottom left, and bottom right. I'm looking all around because somehow I lost another screw, or two. So I'm going to pause the video while I look for that. Alright, so in my attempt to find the missing screw, I actually broke the ribbon cable for my left my left trigger. So I had to get a replacement for that. So, lesson of the day, be extremely careful with those ribbon cables because they are very fragile. Alright, let's reassemble the other part of the heatsink, because I still want to make sure, even though my trigger won't work. I want to make sure that the joysticks now do. That's right. Before you put on this heatsink, you have to plug the battery in because it plugs in underneath the heatsink. You have to put that in, plugs in right there. Okay, now we can put the heatsink on over the top of that. I have no idea where those screws went though. I have a feeling if I was to watch this video back, I'd find it probably stuck to something. Honestly, that's probably how I lost that screw. I'm guessing it's from the Hall effect joysticks, but it feels a lot more magnetic now, so it's overpowering my screwdriver. So the smart thing to do would be to not assemble this the rest of the way. Take everything apart, find the screws, and then make sure everything works. But I want to make sure that those joysticks work. Okay. Alright, I will leave the back off for now. So now, we'll see if it powers on. Got a light. Fan is spinning. Okay, we got a GPD logo, so that's good. is login. Alright. Alright, so now I'm going to open up, let's see, mouse is working. Okay, so now I'm going to open up, see, wing controls, I think that can test it. Nope, that's fine. Okay, so I'll just open up the browser and open up a controller test. Gamepad tester. Okay. Okay, let's see. Axis is looking good. Yep, I think we're good. But of course I have nothing from the left triggers because I broke them. But the rest, everything else is working fine. So I call that a win. Alright, so now I'm gonna flash the screen. So I'll put that over here. Okay. Open up the software here. Okay, so I'm going to be using the flasher with the driver and everything that Spore repacked on the Discord. Alright, so we're going to be using these 3 pins connected to this chip. All the instructions are in that repack. Okay. Okay. So what you have to do is hold, let me see, close up. So you have to hold these 3 pins against the 3 contact points on the board at the same time as running the flash software. I'm going to rotate this so I can reach it better and hopefully not block the entire view for you. Now trying to do this manually, I can see why Pogo pins are recommended. But I'm also the guy that just broke a ribbon cable, so you know, we'll figure it out. Wow, this has to be so close. Okay, I think that'll work now. We'll find out. Those look like they're contacting. Sorry, again, you can't see that. Okay, that says it was successful. So we should be good now to remove that. Alright, let's see what the next instructions are. Okay, it says all we have to do is reboot now. And there's a few more steps, but that's the important part for this video, because the rest is step-by-step instructions. But that's the mechanical part. Alright, let's try rebooting and see what happens. With any luck, it will still work. Okay, the GPD logo is sideways, which means that it is now flashed back to portrait. So, I think we're pretty much good. At this point, you would just put the back of the GPD on, and you would go through the rest of the step-by-step instructions. But that's all software based. So, I think that concludes this video. Hopefully, this helps somebody.